to order the Cohasset Advisory Committee meeting on Wednesday, October 1st at 7:06 p.m. Our meeting is being held via Zoom, which is allowed by Massachusetts law. And I would like a roll call, please. Mike Barclay.
Mike Barclay, present.
Mark Cameron.
Mark Cameron here.
Tom Callahan.
Tom Callahan here.
Michael Flaherty.
Michael Flaherty here.
Diane Kennedy.
Diane Kennedy here.
Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi here and cheering for the Yankees.
We won't hold it against you too badly.
I've got worse sins.
Courtney Murphy.
Courtney Murphy present.
And Vince Thornton.
Vince Thornton here.
Okay, great. So the first item on the agenda is the warrant and the articles that we haven't voted yet. We do have a new copy, a new draft that came today after 4 o'clock. So I don't know if you've seen it, but some of the numbers have changed slightly if you haven't. So we'll just go through it with Chris. I think that the first one that we need to look at is number 4, which is capital improvements projects.
Yes, so capital budget committees finished reviewing. They've recommended unanimously all 4 of these, which is it's an upgrade, expand the residuals management areas where the water department pulls the manganese and iron and it gets managed and then eventually gets removed from the site. And that's part of an ongoing project there to improve the facility. Sewer, this is phase 2. The town won a grant for an asset management plan, and this is the plant was first. This is now the physical structure in the community, the pipes and the pumping stations and all that stuff. And this is the match from the towns, from the sewer side. And both of those, the sewer and water, coming from their retained earnings.
Because they're in an enterprise fund.
Correct. And the trench drains, those are in the highway garage. They need to be replaced. That collects the debris and oil and stuff that comes off the trucks, and it keeps it from going into the groundwater. And after an inspection, they both need to be. There's 2 sets of 2 drains that have to be replaced. And that's the quote. They want to get it done before winter, if at all possible, which is the plan. And then the last is it's a conversion. It was an electric bus. Unfortunately, that experiment did not succeed. And this will just convert money that was approved at Springtown meeting, but not spent, and turn it to a diesel bus lease instead, which actually costs a little bit less.
Any questions?
Sorry, Jane, if I may, just on the water and sewer, I assume they put it forth, and if
Correct.
they've voted yet.
Yeah, they have voted. They never, unfortunately, unlike your committee and capital, which can monitor, they don't always send the votes to Tracy. So we're just kind of scrambling. They voted them because we wouldn't have them if they didn't vote them, right?
And they made the requests, yep.
Correct. So Tracy's just trying to track down the minutes that she needs to say, yeah, they voted for it. So.
Okay, so they have met and they have voted.
Correct, because they're supporting both projects. So they wouldn't have, again, they wouldn't be in front of anybody if they hadn't already voted and said, please move forward.
Okay. And I note that the select board hasn't.
No, because they were waiting for capital and then waiting for you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
No.
No? Okay, so do I have a motion to recommend Article 4 to town meeting?
So moved.
Second from Diane.
And who made the motion? I'm sorry.
I did.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Mike Barclay.
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron.
Mark Cameron, aye.
Tom Callahan.
Tom Callahan, aye.
Michael Flaherty.
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Diane Kennedy.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Courtney Murphy.
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi, aye.
Vince Thornton.
Vince Thornton, aye.
And I believe on the call to order, I didn't make myself say aye, so I am here.
Thankfully.
Oh,
I had that problem last year. I don't know what was wrong with me. Okay, so that's all set. Mike Barclay made the motion and Diane Kennedy seconded. And then the next item that we have to move on is Article 6, which is the Cohasset Public Safety Building. Are we ready to do something on that, Chris, or not?
Yeah, we have so I have a whole cast of characters I'm promoting. And I'll let them introduce themselves, but Michelle Leary is homesick tonight, unfortunately, and so is Chief Quigley.
Mhm.
So that said, we do have Chief Dockeray here. We have Lieutenant Lennon, who's representing the police department. You see him there in his undisclosed location. And Dan, if Paula is on your team, correct?
Yes, Paula Claridge is on my team.
Okay. All right.
And I know who Chief Dockeray is, and I know who Detective Lennon is, but I don't know who Daniel Pilata is.
I'm going to be hiding under my desk during this.
So we don't.
I'm a Red Sox season ticket holder, and I don't know who was rooting for the Yankees, but I got to tell you, that's blasphemy.
Wait
You can
until after.
vote against everything. You can't do that.
Wait till after the vote. Wait till after the vote.
We weren't voting for the Yankees. We were voting for the Rice Boy.
No, I think it's terrific that the boy from Cohasset made the big time. He's earned it, and there's nothing like playing for the Yankees. So
Okay, so Daniel Pilata, and we also have Paula Claridge.
Yes, I'm Paula Claridge. I'm the architect with HKT Architects.
I'm the owner's project manager for the project.
Great. Okay.
Do either of you, Dan or Paula, need access to show anything on the screen? I can.
Yeah, if you let me, if you want to give me access, I will attempt to do this. 5-1 against the Yankees. Do you want us to go through the full presentation, Madam Chairman, or do you want just the finances? I mean, I don't know how familiar the board is with the project. We are willing to do both.
Okay. What does the rest of the committee think? Do you want everything, or do you want the financial part? I'm trying to be democratic here.
Gina, I've had the benefit of watching the capital budget meetings and the select board meetings. And so I feel like I have a lot of the sort of background from the fire and police perspective, but I'm just speaking for myself, obviously. So the financials are most important to me, but that's just me.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in?
I'd second that. I've listened to the presentations
Yep.
for capital and select board. So let's get to the numbers.
Okay. And I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure that you all were. I want everybody that needs to be heard is. So
Yep.
take it away.
Okay, let me pull up the numbers if I can share. Can you see that?
Yes.
So I'm going to toggle my way through this. If you and get to the finances. So I think we all know the story here. You appropriated $10.4 million to purchase the building at 135 King Street with the anticipation that it would be enough money to renovate the building for police and fire station. It sadly is not even close. So we put in here everything that has occurred using the $10.4 million. The purchase of the building at $2,405,000. The architect, the OPM, the engineering and legal work at $1,795,000. We actually have a valid, responsible bid from M. O'Connor for $18,987,000. And in the event that the finance committee and at the town meeting votes in the positive, and the ballot question for the exclusion passes, we would start immediately thereafter on this project. We have construction administration, architectural administration, post-bid testing and some odds and ends at 1,464,800. And there's a lot of radio infrastructure in the police station, a lot of security, a lot of cameras, and new furniture and refrigerators and things like that for, believe it or not, for evidence. That are a lot of specialized stuff that we've got priced out at $1,792,751. We have a traffic light for $750,000, so that when there's it'll be a blinking yellow that changes when an emergency vehicle is approaching the intersection, and a contingency of $1,578,960, minus the appropriation of your $10,400,000. We need an appropriation of $18,373,511.
Any questions for Mr. Pilata? Diane?
Yeah.
We have a few hands up now, but you go ahead, Diane. I saw you first.
No, just what I would love to understand, and just really high level, is where do these numbers significantly, where was the miscalculation? Because I think we're going to have to, in order to support the project, we're going to have to be able to convince people that this wasn't a bait and switch, to be perfectly honest with you. And so when we did the 10.4, certainly we knew about the 2.4. And basically the entire construction bid is the delta from what we thought it was going to be and to what the project is today. So I just want to know, like, I just understand what we were basing the 10.4 on, and where it all moved to get us to this number today. And I think that's what the community is going to want to know.
I think you're 100% correct. We were hired after the building was purchased and after the town meeting had voted, and essentially said we had $8 million to try and get this project completed. We kind of went through the normal processes of design, but I think it was evident to the OPM and the designer that we were going to be struggling with budget the whole way through. So as we got our first set of estimates in, and we did 3 estimates on this project prior to receiving the bids, and the estimates were higher than the actual bid was by, I think it was $930,000, $730,000. It was a sizable number. We knew that we were going to be coming in high. Having sat through a lot of the meetings and the frustration with the residents of the town of Cohasset, as well as you board members that put your faith in the 10.4 number, it looks like it was just plain an error by somebody who put together the original budget. And I don't remember, but someone at one of the meetings stood up and said, I put the budget together, and I obviously did it wrong. I don't remember which. I think it was a former selectman, but I don't remember the person's name. But I wasn't here for that. So when we look at the project, we looked at the project as what a town meeting asked to be done, which was to create a police station with a small substation at the 135 King Street location. And that is, this is the most cost-efficient way to do it on that site.
Okay, Mike Barclay. You're muted. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks. So I don't want to look backwards. We are where we are. And to me, Hingham just built a public safety facility for, I think, 52 or 54 million. To me, seeing a price tag of 28 for what I've seen in the design, it doesn't shock me. Costs keep going up. The key question though is being able to line by line walk from the 10.4 to the 28, because, just for instance, my understanding, the original, they didn't take into account the entire building had to be a class 4 building, right? So it's just, it's to have a chance of, getting this passed. I think we really need as much detail as possible walking us from the 10.4 to the 28. Because again, it makes sense if only half, part of the building was going to be, considered class 4, but the reality is the whole thing is obviously that's going to cost more. And truthfully, that makes sense that the whole building has to be class 4. So it's that type of detail that, the walk that, whatever's happened that got to the 10.4, it is what it is. We are where we are now, and we just, I don't want to analyze the 10.4. I want to analyze the delta and with as much detail as possible. This is a need, and I think by any metric you would look at, per square foot or whatever, this 28 million is probably in the range of what any new public safety facility would cost in any town. And so that's what's going to be most helpful for me, is to really get that detail about how we got from 10.4 to 10, to 28.
So, if I may, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
the Hingham was, I think, 59 to 60 when you added up all of the appropriations. Brockton's at 142. Quincy just built a monster in Quincy. This is a relatively speaking, for public safety, a very efficient way to do it. Buying the building actually probably, I think we had calculated, saved somewhere in the tune of $3 million if we had built this new on this site. So I can't dive backwards either. I can tell you that we got 6 bids, and M. O'Connor is a responsible bidder, and that number is backed by a payment bond and a performance bond. So it's not like you're appropriating a number at town meeting and hoping the project comes in at that number, which we've seen happen in our communities time in and time again. We took a different approach on this project, which was to come to town meeting with an actual bid in hand. So we know that number's locked up. We have quotes on all the other numbers. The only unknown we have is anything that we don't know, which is what you have a project contingency for. We did plenty of borings throughout the site to understand the materials of the site, to understand what's going on under the ground, and we've received all the permits that we need for the project, with the exception of the traffic light, which is administrative and is ongoing and will probably be ongoing for another few months.
Thank you. Courtney?
Thank you, Jean, and thank you all for being here. First, I would say I would certainly agree with Mike's comments with regard to a crosswalk. I think that would add an incredible amount of value to this body, the citizens, like all the voters. I just think it's incredibly important. To Mike's point, let's not revisit 10 was wrong. We all understand that. But I think understanding that delta would be incredibly valuable. The other thing that would be valuable to me, and I believe Chief Dockeray, you spoke about this last night, so if you could bring it here or elaborate for those who may or may not have seen the select board, as we think about this particular investment in King, what is then long-term required from a capital perspective for Elm? And then from an operating perspective, we will be running 2 facilities. And I understand they will not be of the same caliber in level of service and staffing, et cetera. but understanding what are the projections of those operating costs, because, given where we stand, I think with the town, the more information that we have now about projections, the better, right? Just like, let's get it all out there and say, here's what we think the costs are. It will be a massive failure if we come back at any point in time with additional capital or operating that was not projected. And I would apply that sort of comment a little bit more broadly to how we think about the investments in the town. But right now on the public safety investment, because I think we all agree we can use some investment here for sure, and we want to get it right. And so I think just being really transparent about those costs, capital and operating, both facilities, is going to behoove us with this particular initiative. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you. Mark Cameron? You're muted.
Just to echo Courtney's comments there, I think we've seen projects be presented in the past at town meeting that haven't been had every thought carried out through the other dominoes, if you will, and like town hall, what happens to 41 Highland Ave if we move into One Pleasant? I think it's important that we need to map out the end road for Elm Street and show what is happening to Elm Street, because that's a part of this. And truthfully, I don't know how we can support this and pass this through to the voters without having that vision of what's going to happen on Elm Street with a design, with finances, because that was ultimately part of the 10 million. And here we are asking for 18.3, but we're not even including Elm Street. And I think that's a big portion of this. And seeing as that we're so far off on the number from where we originally were, not to recreate history here, but have we said, can we look at this from a completely different optic? Can we look at this and see what it would be like to put just the police station up there and what the premium for us is to get a second ambulance up there? Because that's really what the fire is getting out of it. They're getting an ambulance on 3A. So if that came at a cost of X million dollars, is that worth it to the town to have an ambulance on 3A? And I think that before we pass this through to the voters, we need to dig through and explain what that might be, because the police station could be anywhere, right? It just needs to be somewhere. And if they were to relocate and free up room on Elm Street, both entities could have the facilities that they need. But I think we owe that to the community to at least investigate that option, given that we're so far off from where we promised we would be.
I think if we don't have answers to all the questions at town meeting, we're going to have trouble. With regard to Elm Street, we did take Elm Street through the design development portion, established a cost for Elm Street, and it was decided by higher ups that they wanted to attack the Elm Street project through York Capital Improvement Program over a multitude of years, as opposed to doing it all at once. Once the police have moved out, then you will have that flexibility that we didn't. We were looking at it as an individual project. With regard to taking off the fire station only, Paula, I know you're jumping at the bit here. I wanted to pull up this plan. I don't know if you can see it or not. You probably can. This is the plan of the fire station, and the way this was designed, because we were tasked to add the ambulance bays, the mechanical for the whole building, the electrical for the whole building, and the storage is in the back of the building. So the building sits on the hill, and the second floor can be accessed from the back. So all of the utilities could be accessed from the rear of the building in a safe manner, because this is a level 4 facility. You don't want to have any facilities accessible to the public. So just lopping off the fire station's not an option. We'd have to redesign the entire project and delay it a year. And by the time we're done doing that, any savings you think you're gonna get will be chewed up by inflation, construction inflation, which is different than regular inflation.
So other words, we have a gun to our head that this is it or nothing because
No,
I mean, what I'm hearing is that we can't put the mechanicals in the electrical room and the storage within the footprint of the existing building if fire services wasn't there. I mean, you know, I'm just trying to
I'm saying that you would have to completely redesign the entire building.
understood, but we're
And it would take, in the time it would take to redesign the entire building, put it back out to bid. That's gonna take quite a bit of time. And looking at what I see for construction data, I fear that the value that you would have gotten if this was 5 years ago and when construction was rising at 1% and 2% a year, we did that type of an exercise a lot. Trying to do that exercise in this period of economic times, it's a lot more difficult. You can do it. I don't think you're going to get the dollar for dollar savings that you would have if we weren't in this period of time. You don't have a gun to your head. It's your town. It's your choice. You certainly can do it.
and I guess my last portion of it is why wasn't it looked at halfway through the process? I mean, it can't be a surprise at the end that if our cost estimate was accurate to where the construction values came in, why did we not approach this sooner? I know that there were, you know, I followed this subject here, so I know that there were some scale backs made along the way, but so far off to just take this and look at it from a completely different optic and say, we're going to revisit this and look at a different way to program this within the town.
We think we've programmed this as efficiently as you can on this site.
Well, I can speak a little bit to that,
yeah,
Dan, and
please.
I'll just say that the program that we were tasked with providing spaces for at this site was a 2-bay apparatus bay. So at no point were we requested, because that was the program, it was what the fire department had said they needed at this facility. I don't think anybody that was involved on the committee that helped us go through the design process thought to reduce the number of vehicles there because there was a need for those vehicles there. So I think that may have been what happened.
I can say that we did, you know, we struggled with budget all the way through. But the decision was made to bring it back to the town meeting as directed for a vote. It's very, very unfortunate. Somebody put forward 10.4 million. It really is. And we're doing our best to get as close as we can. And if you look at the cost of public safeties around the Commonwealth, this is a really good deal.
You all set, Mark? Did that answer your questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Mike Barclay and then Diane.
So, you know, Dan, Paula, so Dan, just to your last point, you know, if this is a really good deal relative to other buildings around the Commonwealth, it would be great to have that data to be able to show that, first of all. Right? Like that's the kind of stuff we need to be armed with, is to say, okay, whatever happened 2 years ago happened. We don't like it, but we are where we are. This is a good deal for XYZ reasons. The second thing is just, you know, the kind of kick in the Elm Street can to the capital budget doesn't really work either, because our capital budget has been underfunded for the better part of a decade. And so again, I know you're being directed, like I know you're not making the call on this. I'm just saying that, okay, so if all of a sudden Elm Street's going to be pulled out of the annual capital budget, what's that crowding out? What other necessary infrastructure investments are not being done because of that, right? So that's, I mean, just as a taxpayer and somebody, you know, that's trying to prognosticate on this, to Mark's point, and you know, and you know, to Courtney's point, like we need to see the full roadmap of public safety. What's the investment? What gets us to the end state so that we're done and we can move on to other needs within the town. And you know, I know you were probably hesitant to probably quote what the latest estimate on Elm Street is, but I just don't see that getting done in the annual capital budget. That's $2.5 million, where you have a whole lot of other things that need to, you know, kind of feed off of that. So that's, you know, and then just lastly, back to the design, the schematic, where again, my understanding was we needed, paramedics to be up there. You know, that bay, the 2-bay, my understanding is built 2 stories high to accommodate, is that for a ladder truck? Or I didn't realize that was part of the scope originally too. And that feels like maybe that changed. And so, you know, these are the questions that are being asked everywhere. And, and just, if we don't have great answers for them, this is heavy lifting, to say the least.
So the fire station's 1 story. The mechanical, electrical, and storage is on the 2nd level of the area where the fire station is. Obviously, the bay of the fire station is greater than a single story. And one of the assumptions that was made when the $10.4 million budget was put together is that you could, put a sally port, which is a secure area for the police side, carve a hole out of the building, slide it right into the building. And, you don't have the floor-to-floor height to do that. You don't even have the floor-to-floor height to provide adequate detention areas in the existing building. So, we've created all of those new required by Department of Public Safety items in the wing on the right side of the building. And we put the 2 bays and the associated small little areas, including a decontamination area for the fire department in the fire department side. So we really don't have anything but basic needs in this building.
I'm not questioning that. Again, Mike Barclay, taxpayer of Cohasset, I am going to vote for this because I understand the costs. I've been involved with these projects for 20 years. I get it, but there are a lot of people that need to be walked from, to this number. And that's what our job is to try to walk people to this number so that people can get comfortable with this, because there's just a lot of last minute moving parts. And so I'm going to stop there because I think I'm repeating myself, and I definitely don't want to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I hope I answered your question, Mike.
Well, it's not your question to answer, but how Elm Street's going to be funded out of the annual capital budget is
definitely not my answer.
It's not your question to answer, but I'm really interested to hear how that's going to work.
Thank you, Diane, and then Chief Dockeray.
Yeah, and I don't want to be redundant. I think we're, those of us that have spoken are pretty much on the same page with this. I think just being able to understand that the scope has changed. I mean, when the 10.4 was, let's buy the land and, we're going to get some secure cells up there. We're going to have some administrative offices, and we're going to have these bays primarily for the ambulance. And that's the key point, is getting an ambulance and getting getting those, the police cars for the most part are on this out and about. It's really getting that ambulance and whatever other emergency personnel need to be on that side of 3A. So to Courtney's point and everybody else's, being able to understand a bigger, and this is on the town, a bigger financial scope of this. How does this fit in generally with what we're going to be looking at over the next couple of years? Why did the scope change? The fact that there's a traffic light on here, which is almost $1 million, that answers why we're up, plus 750. I mean, we don't have to drill down, but we do have to be honest that the scope has changed for very valid reasons. And Dan, Mr. Pilati, you said exactly something that was like, bingo. The fact that buying the building saved us $2 million. in site work, because that was a whole nother thing. If we buy the build, let's just buy the building, get the appropriation so we can start the work on it. This is what we were discussing 2 years ago. And if we realize the site isn't right, well, you know what, we can flip the building, or we can use it for, you know, administrative office, whatever. And the fact that we did buy the building, you said, is actually saving us in terms of where the scope of the project is now. So again, this is all the work that we need to do over the next couple of weeks to make sure that, you know, we get this moving forward. So I'll shut up.
I think it would be very helpful to have all of this information actually maybe as an addendum to the warrant that gets mailed to everybody's home, so that they can see it before they walk in and see the town manager's motions. Because the last minute thing doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for the rest of the town. And that doesn't mean I'm not supportive of this, because I know we need it. I have to tell you, the public safety building that we have now has been an embarrassment for a very long time. And we've been hearing that over and over and over again. And we just never invested the money. So, Chief Doc Ray.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Great questions. But just one question and answer for you people is that the two-bay station on King Street, we are cross-trained firefighter paramedics. And when our staffing, which is the lowest we get down to, is 4 members, one of the members comes off the ambulance and staffs a fire engine for a fire alarm call, a building fire, a car fire, so that we respond with at least 2 engines and an ambulance to majority of our calls that aren't medicals or car accidents. So therefore, not only is there going to be an ambulance located at 135 King Street, there's also going to be just a fire engine, not a ladder truck, just a pumper truck that'll be located there, that when our staffing goes down to 4, we also be able to run the 2 engines and the ambulance to the calls that we need to. So that's why it's a 2-bay station. And that's how we operate now.
Great. Thank you for explaining that. Mark, do you have additional comments, questions? I can't hear you though.
Yeah, Chief, thanks. And just trying to understand that if we go down to 4 individuals on a shift, how do then, between the 2 stations, where will we be staffing the 2 stations if we have 4 individuals?
So there'd be 2 in Elm Street and 2 in King Street. And then we do a lot of callback. We call back a lot of off-duty members. On our staffing at 4, we call back 2. If we're at 5, we'll call back 1. If we're at 6, we don't need to call back unless the incident dictates we're going to be tied up for a long period of time or the severity of the call. Then we will use callback when we have 6 members on duty. But most of the time, if we have 4, immediately we call back 2. And our callback system right now, we're probably getting about an 80% return of off-duty members to backfill the station when we need them.
And originally, this was programmed to have just an ambulance. That's how it was communicated to folks a couple of years ago. What's the impetus for adding a? I guess what is it? An engine? What's the actual unit of a piece of equipment that'd be up on besides the ambulance? That would be
a fire truck pumper engine. Yep.
So how? I guess how big is that in terms of size of the space, and what was the change in process there to add a second unit up there and creating a larger building?
Well, the change of process is that those 2 individuals that are staffing the ambulance, one of them is going to have to staff the second engine when we need it. So that's the reason why. You know, right now we're doing that right now. If we're at 4 members on duty right now in Elm Street, the second individual comes off the ambulance and takes the second due engine out on a call. And if we just move the ambulance up to King Street, we still have to go and get that second engine. So they got to leave King Street, go back to Elm Street, pick it up, and go along. That defeats the purpose of trying to reduce our response times, especially being on the other side of the railroad tracks. If there's a car fire or any kind of outside fire, a building fire, we can at least get 500 gallons of water on scene quicker than we can from Elm Street. Right now, if we had a second station on King Street, that would help improve our response times to North Cohasset and to Beechwood and along the entire 3A corridor.
And one last question, just operationally, if we have multiple stations, and we're still going to always have the railroad that runs through the town, how are we going to manage what addresses get what fire services, right? If I would imagine that for the senior center's on the opposite side of the railroad tracks from what would be the 3A station. So I would imagine that even though it's closer, now we still have the railroad in the way of the Cohasset Senior Center, which is, you know, a likelihood of needing services, right? And same for me or you down here in the closer to the village. Elm Street's closer station for me, but I'm still on the opposite side of the railroad tracks from Elm Street. So how are we going to address that? Because we're never going to get rid of the railroad.
Correct. So we're going to respond apparatus from both stations. So the primary ambulance would run out of King Street, and then we'd send an engine from Elm Street. Don't forget, our engines, we have ALS equipment on it. They're firefighter paramedics. So we're going to attack each response from both ends of the town to help improve our response time to emergencies throughout the community.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more questions? Oh, Vince, sorry.
Hopefully I'm on mute. Chief, so do we have the apparatus to fulfill both stations at this point? Do we have two ambulances? I believe we have one in backup that's behind the town hall. And do we have a pumper truck that can go into both? Do we have the equivalent to man both stations?
Yes, we have all the equipment, rolling stock. We have all the rolling stock to staff both pieces of both stations in town.
Okay.
We don't need to purchase any additional equipment.
All right, perfect. And then from a finance, appreciate the information that you provided. It's very high level. You got legal, architecture, engineering, management at 1.7, and then construction administration at 1.4. Is there any integration between those two?
Yes, there is. They're separated because I wanted to be able to identify what we spent out of the 10.4.
Okay, a lot of us get
So the
into the details.
1.795 and the 2405 have been spent from the 10.4.
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of us tend to get into the nitty gritty. I know.
No,
Mark
I
Hammer-
listen, I'm
Yeah.
chairman of my finance committee in my town, so I appreciate all these calls, questions, and honestly, I don't blame any of you.
And just the construction bid with M. O'Connor, where do they fall? Are they mid? Are they bottom? Are they? where
Emma,
do they
we
fall?
have we are required under chapter 149 to award to the lowest responsible bidder, and the definition of responsible is that they meet all the criteria. All of the contractors that bid on this project, I think there was 7 general contractors that bid on this project.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of
We had to pre-qualify them, so we didn't get anybody off the street all of a sudden sending a bid in because they couldn't. They had to go through the pre-qualification process where we looked at their financials, we looked at their records before allowing them to bid in the town of Cohasset.
Okay. And then final question, the radio infrastructure, furniture, fixtures, equipment, we're looking for future build out of the Cohasset Fire and Police. We're not just migrating the current existing. Is that correct, or am I?
This station is being built for the future. The building itself will be there for 50 years at a minimum.
Right,
Probably
because so
longer, based on the fact that no one ever throws anything away at 50 years, but it's certified for 50 years. The radio equipment's all, all the equipment and the computers and things like that are all new.
yeah.
So
So
it's
currently
security.
we have
And we'll be running data and stations for future employees that, might come 6, 7 years down the line.
Right, so currently we have X number of police, X number of fire. We're not just migrating over what we have from Elm. And we keep saying substation at King Street, this is becoming more the primary police location as opposed to Elm. So I just want to make sure that we're focusing on, the future development of the police department as opposed to where we are X right now. I think 22, 24 patrolling X number of vehicles and things of that nature.
When we refer to substation, we mean the fire portion.
Oh, okay, all right.
You good, Vince?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Diane. And then I'd like to wrap it up if nobody has anything that's.
Sure, I just have a very quick question for the chief, just about the minimum manning, which it may be very premature and complicated, but thinking about a shift where there's only 4 people on, you have only 2 people in one building and 2 in another. Is that okay? I don't know how other towns with 2 different stations manage the manning requirements. Is it a shift or a building or?
Yeah, sorry, Diane. Yeah, the town of Norwell does that now. They're about a little bit bigger than us. They'll do a little more call volume than us, but they run 2 stations with 2 and 2. So, and again, they do call back just like us. Always calling back off-duty members, especially, well, Norwell's a lot closer to South Shore Hospital. They don't do it as much, but we are a good, 20 minutes away. So that's a 40-minute ride time and then another 40 minutes to the hospital. So we need to get staff back to cover apparatus when the ambulance is gone for a good hour and a half to maybe 2 sometimes out of town. We need to backfill those 2 positions as soon as possible.
Great, thank you.
And excuse me, the other thing too is that also Elm Street, myself and the assistant chief still work out of. So there's usually going to be 4 people in that building, not just 2 and 2. There's, like I said, the chief and the assistant chief both work out of that building also. So.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I appreciate all the questions and I do want you to get all of your answers to your satisfaction. And I know there was some that we probably didn't answer 100%. So if your members would email Michelle or email the chiefs, they'll get them to us and we'll make sure that your questions are answered. I just want you to know that, we want you to make an informed decision.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Chris? I think he's hiding.
I'm here.
Okay, so are we ready to make a commitment on this? How's everybody feel about that? I mean, we're kind of running out of time.
My only
actually be in the warrant. Yes, Diane.
Sorry, Jean. My only question is, what's the purpose for our meeting, our joint meeting with Capital on Monday? Is it on this matter or, because I would welcome that kind of a conversation if that's why we're meeting on Monday.
Okay. I didn't get exactly what that purpose is, but if you hold on a minute, I can just look.
Jean, while you're looking, I might note on a related note that it sounded to me like there was some information provided to Capital that, I don't know, there was a discussion about some information in writing that was provided that I'm not sure that we've seen on this matter. It was referenced last night, 2 nights ago.
Okay, this is to discuss the proposed public safety building, so maybe we don't take any action tonight. We could certainly, if Capital is ready to make their own recommendation, then we could probably do the same on Monday. What do you think, Chris? I mean, the 8th is our next meeting, and that's after the warrant has to go to print, right?
Yeah, the warrant's we're planning to close on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you should definitely, I mean, I think having a joint meeting on Monday would be good. I think, you have an opportunity to circulate more conversation. And again, if there's anything, there is a webpage, which I think people have been sent links to, that has a lot of information on it. And if there's anything else, as Dan said, that people would like to see, we can make sure that it's all posted to your shared drive, and also that's up there on the website. And again, I think there's a lot of stuff there. I think pretty much everything has been discussed. I think it's up there publicly now. And there is
It's in there somewhere, Chris.
yeah, there is a special website just for this project that the project manager is doing, because public education is part of the project manager's contract. So there's a website that's just on the project that has a lot of information on it. So,
And can we add pages to the warrant to?
yes.
Programs?
So the plan is to put.
Very important for people to get something in hand that they can look at.
Plan is to have, a couple of pages of material. You won't have too much, but enough at least to be able to give people
Right.
information.
Informed decision.
And then obviously we'll have all the other materials on the website. So.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, so first, Chris, the warrant has to close on Tuesday?
Well, it has to, I mean, we have a 2-week in advance lead for a special town meeting. And we have to give the printer at least a week to turn the thing around. So it has to be in everybody's hands by the 20th, may just be in the post office the weekend before. And we've been having a little problems with the post office lately. I don't know, but things have gotten a little weird. So we don't want to have a problem with things not getting delivered to people on a timely manner. So.
Okay, and then Elm Street, again, I just don't know how you can bring this project without giving people the roadmap for Elm Street, and so that we can say, hey, we're going to take care of all of public safety, check, so we can then go and address schools and other things that are going to be needed as well. Do you really think, I mean, what's the number on Elm Street?
So it was presented last night. So, and let me step back. So this Elm Street was originally going to be handled this way, as a part of the ongoing repairs and part of the capital plan. Was never in the $10.4 million. To be clear, okay, it's not in the motion. It wasn't in the ballot question. It was always intended that way.
Chris, I'm aware of that.
No.
But
I just
we're in
wanted
a different place now.
No, I know.
I didn't get to listen to everything last night, so that's a question. And with a $2.5 million capital budget,
No, I wasn't finished. I'm sorry, Mike. So what I was saying is that there was a study done, and there was a number that came out of it at $7.5 million, and it went back like, no, that's crazy. So it was scrubbed down, and Michelle presented numbers at $4.2 million last time, and there is a sheet that ticks off the key elements, and there's a roof repair. In many ways, it's actually mirrors what's being done with Town Hall. It's a chunked up set of projects with an understanding that none of this can actually get done anyway, well, except for the roof. I mean, the plan is maybe to get the roof done in the next couple of years, and that's not that expensive a project. The structure of Elm will not be changed. There'll be some remodeling, there'll be some repurposing, but the structure of the building it's not going to be added on to. So there'll be parts of it will be repurposed. Should 135 King be fully approved and then built, then after the police move out, that's when the renovations will start. Again, the roof will probably happen before that. So none of the work will happen before 28, most likely, except for the roof. And then there's already, and again, I'll make sure that Michelle distributes that. I'm sorry that, again, she came down with something tonight. She's home sick tonight. So there's materials that were shared with the select board last night that you all need to have too. And in fact, everybody should see that has that 4.2 million. It's a checklist, much like Mark Cameron prepared for the Town Hall project. And it's a checkbox of some of the big projects with quotes. Now, could the prices change in the next couple of years? Absolutely. That said, it's something that we think it could be chunked off. Again, much like Town Hall is being done. And of course, there's an understanding, you're quite right, Mike, that there has to be a public conversation about how it's all kind of plug in. And so, but that material is available and you should most certainly have it. I'll make sure it gets to all of you. If I can't do it tonight, but I'll make sure it gets out tomorrow.
Okay, so to put a little bow around this, the cost of getting our public safety facilities to where they need to be for the next 50 years is $32 to $33 million. And the average for the median homeowner is going to be something in the range of $700 a year.
Nope. So, I can share that too. So I had the materials for the select board last night. They didn't bring it up, but I have the materials on that too. So.
Okay.
The current, and again, I could share that right now. I can show you a screen if you'd like it. So there's let me just do that.
Well, I know Gene wanted to move past, this on, but you know where my question is going.
Yeah.
And certainly next Monday when we meet with Capital, this is the type of data that we're gonna need. We're gonna need it. What's it cost, for the average property, median homeowner, all of that type of stuff. And and how it's gonna work in Capital. So I'll stop there unless the rest of the committee wants to go deeper on this.
I'll throw that number out just so you have it. So using 30 years, which was the original project estimate anyway, with the total contracted cost is $425 for the median home over 30 years. That's the projection, okay? And that's based on actual data. And then the purchase of the land has been already bonded out. That's 50. It's 56 this year. It goes down about $1.60 a year, just the way it's been set up. It'll be $53 in 2 years, and that'll continue to decline. And that's a 20-year bond because we were able to get a very favorable rate when we went to borrow this when the land was purchased 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. So when you add them both together, it's 477 or 478, and again the number will come down. But the construction piece is 425.
Because Chris, I'm looking at the planning working group report from 2 years ago that put the median cost was $220 for 10.4. So if you triple that, that's $660, and we're tripling that all in for the cost of public safety.
So our interest rates have come down. So the interest rate environment is more favorable than it was 2 years ago. And I used a 4.25% interest rate on this, which is what AAA rated 30-year bonds are going for right now. And then interest rate environment is projected to decrease as the Fed continues to move. So that's where the interest rates are this year.
I wouldn't make that promise. The long end of the curve isn't going to necessarily move because the Fed lowers short-term rates. So don't make those prognostications, Chris, because I've been doing it for 35 years, looking at financials. Do not try to predict interest rates. Just give them the best number you have right now.
The best number I have right now is 4.25%, and because that's what's on sale today. So that's what we use, and that's AAA, which the town is AAA. So that's what we're using, and that's I'm happy to share that number with them. But I don't want to belabor this either. So.
Mark, do you have something new you want to add?
Last point. I mean, Chris, we've mentioned that we've got plans for Elm Street. We really need to. We haven't seen that. Some numbers were presented last night, but it's important to project those out. If the construction isn't going to be happening until 2028, we need to be realistic in those projection of those dollars. If it's not going to happen after King Street construction, and going on the website, and I'm on it right now, there's no information other than existing conditions information on Elm Street. So there's no plans, there's no budget, there's nothing. And if the warrant's closing next week, I feel like this is all last minute and short notice to get out to the community and get their buy-in. I mean, we certainly have public safety needs, but we got to get them the information. We can't hide the information from them. Tell them to trust us. We've got it when we were 3 times the project value. We've got to share the information.
I think we all agree on that. So if we could get that information, Chris, prior to Monday, please.
Absolutely. I will text Michelle tonight for that sketch up.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yep.
So we have more than a day to look it over.
Absolutely.
And then I can change the posting so that we can vote if we feel comfortable on Monday. Everybody good with that? Okay, so thank you, Paula and Daniel and Chief Dockeray and
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Lennon. We appreciate that you came and stuck with us through this difficult conversation.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
that's-
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and thank
everybody.
you for your questions, and we look forward to getting your answers.
Great.
Yes, and we appreciate your attention to this. We don't have a functional police station at the moment, and we appreciate your support of this project, both for operational reasons and for recruitment and retention reasons.
Right. I mean, we all agree that you've been working in
Substandard.
Stars too long.
Yeah.
Not literally, but figuratively speaking. So,
Yes.
and we've been talking about this for years and it just hasn't happened. So at least
we-
now we've got some movement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll wait on that. And the next is creation of an enterprise fund for recycling transfer facility.
Two documents that were shared, and I apologize. I ended up going out of town for an unexpected funeral over the weekend. So I have updated budgets, and I can share them on the screen if you'd like me to, through 28. And then Brian did kind of a multi-page little business plan, which ticked on the key points. And again, I'm happy to show them if anybody wants me to put them on the screen. So basically the projections, Brian and Frank used, waste numbers as, and the new bag costs to generate those. And then, we reduced the number of potential sticker sales down substantially. Last year, there were over 5,200 stickers sold. The budget's only based on selling 3,600. I do expect it'll be higher than 3,600. That said, I'm being very conservative purposely. And again, remember the second sticker prices aren't changing, only the first sticker price is changing. So we did project a slight decrease in the number of, about maybe a 10% decrease in the number of primary sticker sales. Which again remain all facilities, so they're used for everything.
What was the thought process in reducing it so much?
The numbers, well,
Yeah. I'm just curious.
yeah, Brian was using them, so I decided to stick with them. I mean, the number, I asked the clerk to give me a number that she had, because I was curious to how many primary stickers and how many secondary stickers were. So it took her, so the analysis I got showed me that last fiscal year, they had sold a little over 5,000.
Okay.
With one being the predominant, but then somebody actually bought 9 for their house. They must have lots of cars, lots
Whoa.
of family members. Which is fine. I mean, if people want to do that, I mean, so I was mostly curious about how many second stickers there were.
I just didn't know if maybe it was projecting that some people would go to private.
Yes, there's definitely some of that.
Okay.
That said, the sticker still though is an all facility sticker, so it's still going to be a beach permit, and it'll still be a Government Island, and it'll still be Rocky Beach. So it'll be all of those things still too.
Okay. And then I had also asked at the last meeting, we talked about the projection for how much it would be for the sticker with the enterprise fund. And I believe it was $150 and $60 for seniors.
Right.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
What is it if we don't go to the enterprise fund? Because I didn't jot down that number and people keep asking me. And we don't want to use scare tactics, but they need to understand the whole picture.
No, I understand. The numbers we used with the select board were, again, I'm going to be off a little bit. It's $350. If we had to break it out using the traditional numbers, and that would be for a whole year though, right? But again, we only issue the stickers and we do them in the second half of the year, so the money would roll through to pay the expenses for next year too. So it's one of the things about the enterprise fund is you can also roll money from fiscal year to fiscal year.
Right.
Retained earnings, and
Yep.
it's really not, you really can't do that in the operating budget. It becomes retained. It becomes free cash, then you have to put it back in, and then you have to pull it back out, I should say, after it's certified. So
I got that. There was a
yeah, so the number
expected rollover of like $32,000 a year or something like that.
that's using the enterprise fund. That's
Right,
that
enterprise fund.
operating, right? And then the first year you see is actually a potentially bigger one because all the revenue for the sticker sales comes in the spring, and that will be a cushion to go into the fall. So
Okay.
and the pilot program is reduced dramatically to only 100 stickers. And obviously the plans for that haven't even been finalized because there's traffic counts and stuff being done now before we do any of that. So so that money is comparatively de minimis in the operating budget, for the enterprise fund. So it's really sticker fees mostly and bags.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I
Mike.
think, oh,
Go ahead, Michael.
Chris, thanks. You answered the question. I was going to ask about what study was done on the pilot program, where you thought you came to 100, and would that be expanded in the future, and what other issues that may cause with non-residents, and where the 100 came from.
Well, because so the 100 came from a conversation with the select board, and the chair and at least one of the members said it's too many, make it less. So the consensus was, okay, well, 100 is that's a smaller, it's a very small, but it's also a manageable number, and we'll test it, and we'll roll it out over a period of months, and we'll have a traffic count and see how it goes. And right now, the Public Works Department is trying to get some equipment to do some traffic counts, and on Elm, not Elm, I'm sorry, on
Cedar.
Thank you. I'm using the wrong tree species for the street. And then again, the select board's talking about creating a small committee to do some other analysis to get more resident feedback. So, if it becomes impactful in a bad way, then the answer is no, we're not going to continue it.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Mike Barclay.
So hey, Chris, so I'm just looking at the numbers that we got sent earlier today. And so just, so far it looks like the fiscal 26 budget, we're a little underwater.
Well, it's only a half year. So you can ignore the fiscal 26 full year because it doesn't really exist anymore. It's the half year budget that would exist. And there's actually a potentially large chunk surplus that I think it's $200,000. I don't have it up on my screen right now.
Okay. And so through 6 months, or as of January, we'll be running some kind of surplus. What happens? What happens with this enterprise fund if these numbers don't work out and the revenues? You take the 30,000 out in the pilot program, which if I'm challenging assumptions, which on the revenue side is always the hardest part for people to project, but like to be conservative, I'd take the 30 grand out of pilot. That's just me. And then all of a sudden you're basically break even in fiscal 27. And so what happens? And as part of this, I have to wonder, because if we go back to Article 2, where there were 6, I think, unpaid bills that came from facilities in DPW that weren't known. I mean, is there an investment in IT or something so that this enterprise fund is going to have a better, grip on its cash flows?
So none of them were for the RTF, which is good, right? So, and we've actually invested in something that's even better than IT, a human being. So Frank, I don't know if he's been in front of the select board multiple times, and he was at the public forums we held. I don't think he's actually been in front of this committee. Frank Marchione is a waste industry professional who tried to retire and it didn't take. So we were fortunate to be able to get him to help run. He's now running. He's been brought on as a staff member. So he's overseeing day-to-day operations of the RTF. And so he's actually watching us like a hawk every single day. And so we have him tightly on this. And the RTF doesn't have, from a regulatory point of view, there's a fair amount of moving pieces. The biggest bills are the municipal solid waste that gets sent out, and there are various recyclable waste streams, which Frank is also monitoring really literally daily at this point. So, and again, the select board has talked about creating a little committee that will also provide some some oversight and do a little more deep dive and come back to the select board and say, hey, this is what's happening, this is what isn't happening. There's also a commitment that there'll be regular reporting back to the select board on what we're doing, which means reporting to the town at the public meetings.
When's our current contract for solid waste disposal up? When does that have to be renegotiated?
That's an excellent question, which I do not have the answer for right now, but I can most certainly check. We've renegotiated it, I want to say, in the past 5 or 6 years, and they're generally at least 10-year cycles in my memory. So I think we probably have at least 4 years to go, maybe 5. We actually got a pretty good deal this last time. That said, the waste industry changes all the time. So
well, that stuff's definitely not going down in cost either. So, you know, it probably behooves us to, at some point, have some idea of 3-4 years down the road, if that's going to go up significantly, you know, what that might do to the budget here.
No, we'd have to raise the bag fees, because that's really what the bag fees are what's tied primarily to the municipal solid waste part. And we'll have to just keep watching that. One of the interesting things is that I saw this in North Hempstead. I don't want to go deep into this by any means, but just a quick tangent. So there's actually less waste being generated in many ways. And so some of the incinerators, which have to burn all the time, we're finding it hard to keep waste streams going. And that's where actually where ours goes. It goes down to the facility down in CMAS, I think it's called.
CMAS, yeah. So, but that's one of the things, from what I understand, is our current contract, we're paying for a larger amount of solid waste to be transported than is actually being transported.
So one of the things we're looking to do, and again, is to more tightly compact our waste so we get better transit. We get better compaction. So we're going to hopefully put more into less trips. That's one of the things that Frank is looking at as a next set of operation upgrades at the facility, which probably wouldn't happen for another year. We'd have to have the money to do it, but it would involve changing the compactors. Right now, it's all manually done. We use a backhoe to squish the garbage into the big trailers. It would be using a more mechanized process, kind of like what we've already moved to with the plastics and the cardboard. And that's done in other places. So it's most certainly a try and true technology. We just have to figure out how to make it work and what the cost factor is for our RTO.
So there would be a capital item related to a better compactor for the solid waste as well.
And that's on the list for not today, but in the next couple of years. And so that, again, that would be something the enterprise fund could pay for, and wouldn't affect the capital budget anymore, which is great.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any more comments, questions, Mark?
Have we ever, in creating these enterprise funds, I mean, I'm generally in support of this here for this, is because we subsidize it through our general tax dollars here, whether we use it or not. So this is, it seems more of an appropriate way to handle it. So if you use the dump, you pay for the dump, right? But if we go through a couple of years of this and we find out it doesn't work well for us, and our old program was better, what is it like to dissolve one of these and go and revert back to the way we've been doing business? Is it easy? Is it simply town meeting again to reverse it?
Yeah. There's a minimum number. I believe you have to go through 3 years, if I recall right. And then at the end, if you say we don't like the way this works, we have a different model, you can dissolve it, and then it just gets absorbed back into the government, the general government. It's a separate accounting entity, right? It's not going to be managed like it always has been under DPW and all. That said, the form itself could be dissolved after 3 years by town meeting, and we just absorb the revenues or the whatever's in there. So.
Thanks.
Diane?
Sorry, that was a mistake. I didn't even have my hand up, so I'm putting it down. Thank you.
Was your cat? I haven't seen your cat in a long time.
She's on the bed next to me. She's watching the Red Sox game. Yeah.
My dog got bored with the conversation. She went off to sleep.
Used to be known as the select cat. Yeah.
Yeah, wagging its tail in your face.
Somebody fell off. Who fell off?
Might have been Vince.
Oh, okay.
Or might have just been turning their video off. people go
No,
away.
he told me that he might have to try
Okay,
and toggle through 2 meetings at once, so,
okay. 'Cause I noticed that the screen's changing from.
yeah. Okay, so how are we feeling about the enterprise fund? Are we ready to recommend? I mean, I personally think it's a great thing to do. I hear people all the time compliment other towns that have them, not realizing that they have them. So let me know what you're thinking. We ready? Okay. All right. So do I have a motion to recommend Article 7, creation of an enterprise fund recycling and transfer facility to special town meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I didn't hear who that
Oh,
was.
second.
Tom?
Pete,
Okay.
Tom.
All right.
Please.
Mark, see, Tom. See. Okay, roll call, please. I'm doing myself first so I don't forget myself. Jean Estino, aye. Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, I.
Tom Callahan,
Tom Callahan, I.
Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, I.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, aye.
Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, I.
and I think Vince Thornton is off. So it's 8.
So the next, I'm gonna ask if you would revisit Article 9, which is one-time cost, because after a conversation internally, and we brought this up last night at the select board meeting, where we've added another slot, and it's called $25,000. It's 25. It's not called. It's $25,000, and it's at the moment it's called beach event support, but it's actually it's money for primarily for plover management. I have a call with the state next week, and we're going to be required to be more intense in our management of the plovers proactively. I don't know if all of you realize that's been piping plovers on the beach in a couple of the last couple of years, including one last year, and the nest got inundated by a big storm. And they came back and then they went away, and we have a call with the state division of I think Fisheries and Wildlife next week. There were 2 major events last year up at the beach that were impacted and had to be managed, and one is the triathlon and the other was the fireworks. It's really to work at the beach and work on those potential issues, because I don't know what they're going to cost. There was fencing that we had to put in last year, and there was potential beach monitoring and potentially training for staff to oversee the plovers.
So we basically have to have a protected area for them.
Potentially, we did last year, and again, we scrambled last year, and I'd rather not scramble. And since the state is calling us into a meeting saying we need to talk about a plover management plan next week, I think we put aside a little bit of money.
Beach event. It sounded like you were going to have a volleyball tournament with the staff.
No, I know. I didn't want to call it plover money,
Yeah, no, I get it. Diane, do you have a question?
I have a suggestion, which is not to call it beach event support.
Right.
I went right to fireworks or something.
Yep.
And I think understanding that even the daily use of the beach is impacting the environment or the plovers is more in line with what we're looking for money. If it is to provide fencing specifically for a couple of events, then that's a whole nother story.
It's really revolving the plovers, and what we may or may not have to, what we may have to do to manage if they decide to take up residence again on the beach.
So I would
I'll change the name. Maybe I'll call it plover management or something like that.
Or you could do something like state mandated compliance.
That's true. That's fair. That's
related to beach.
State management compliance at the beach.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is that plovers
Yep.
don't live anywhere else. Yeah.
Okay, I saw Mike Barclay's hand first and then Courtney.
I'll just echo what you and Diane said. I mean, this is being mandated on us. This isn't like we're gonna provide fireworks for the town. So let people know what it is actually for, and then it's something that's potentially being pushed down on us by the state, and we have to deal with it.
I'll call it.
Okay, Courtney?
Well, the word mandate will be.
Agree. I call it plover, whatever. That's reasonable. And people understand what the plovers are. We live on the South Shore, right?
Right.
I'm trying to figure out, Chris, I thought you said cost is unknown and the meeting hasn't happened yet. So what is the ask at the moment? And is this the right time and the right mechanism?
So the ask is $25,000. I don't think it'll be that high. Last year we were less than 10. But last year, we were kind of forced into it at the last minute. So I don't think it'll be that much. That said, if it isn't that much, then we'll just, then the money we'll just revert the money to free cash. I mean, it won't get spent on anything else. I mean, so I just plucked the number out that gives us room if we have to put fencing in, if we have to have staff on overtime. Because I don't know. The other problem is that I come in the spring, except they can nest earlier. There's like a window of nesting that I think is from spring into the early summer. They're typically gone, I think, by mid-July. Again, I'm learning more about this than I ever wanted to know. So I'll know more next week. But I'll change the name to.
Now, what if they nest in a place that we haven't prepped for them?
They go to Sandy Cove. I just say it's very pretty, right down the coast in Sandy Cove. It's private. They can.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're already on that task, and they're in Duxbury.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So do I have a motion to recommend the allocation of funds for one-time costs to special town meeting?
So moved, Diane.
Do I have a second?
Second, Courtney.
Okay, roll call, please. Gina Stino, aye. Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Cameron, I.
Tom Callahan,
Tom Callahan, aye.
Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, I.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, aye.
and Courtney Murphy.
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Okay. So it is 8-0.
10 and 11. So what was Article 12 is now off. I just haven't been able to get the language all together as simple as it has been. There's been too many other things going on.
The lease of school property is off?
No. It's the amendment to the parking restrictions.
Oh, that was number 10.
That was, yeah, whatever number it was, I'm sorry.
Okay, that was number 10, but this is number 12. The
Yeah, so
lease of the school property.
everything moved up one. So after number 10, so the numbers changed. That's the, and we'll get to it in the spring. So it just, I don't want to be giving people last minute information on stuff, which is already where we are. Even though it wasn't terribly controversial, I just
Yeah.
have to wait. And then, I think you voted the last.
Hey, Gene, just a second. So I apologize, but I printed off the copy that was sent this afternoon. So Article 10 was the wine and malt licenses
Right.
to be converted. 11 was the sewer lien.
Correct.
12 is the lease of school property.
Correct.
That one is.
No. The one that's off is not there anymore. It's that. So
Oh, gotcha. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you're not changing on the
No,
fly.
I'm
here.
not
It's
sure.
been
What you have
taken
is
out.
accurate. The reason
Okay.
it went from 14 to 13, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
That was-
Sorry to be slow on the uptake.
No, I apologize.
Okay.
So number 12.
I went through it 3 times myself, Mike, to make sure I was on the right page.
The Article 12, it hasn't gotten to school committee yet. That's the article about leasing the school roofs. I
Yeah.
never like to leave anything that's unvetted, fully unvetted, but I don't think it's terribly controversial, but the school committee does have to talk about this. I think before anyone else can act. So it may go into the warrant as saying, recommendation to town meeting, and we'll just wait because the school committee hasn't had a chance to hear this, and I don't think they will till next week. I do know that the chair has reached out to them. I know she's planning on talking to them. It just hasn't happened. So
Okay, and they meet on Mondays. It's like the second, not Monday, the second Wednesday of the month. So that would be next week.
Yeah, so it's gonna be after the warrant at this point, most likely.
Yeah.
At least, warrant closes, I should say. So it's still there. I mean, unless the school committee rejects it, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay, so we're gonna recommend that this be,
Well, it'll just be right. So you'll have another meeting before town meeting.
right,
So if once the school committee's done, you can most certainly opine, and then it'll go into the motions. So the advisory's recommendation will be in the motions that people will see.
okay, so we're not gonna do this now.
Well, you can if you want. I just don't. It's not ready. I mean, the school committee hasn't looked at it yet. That's my long-winded way of saying the school committee hasn't looked at it yet. So
It is the school roof. Mike, do you have a comment to make?
Well, I just had a quick question. I mean, there's been a lot of moving pieces on the federal level in terms of grants and, in particular with alternative energies. I mean, are we sure that there is still the 30% tax credit?
So what I've been told is that the program that's being envisioned here runs through next year. That said, next summer, I think the middle of I think it's June or July. That said, there's a very limited window to get it all together and done. So I'm not sure if it would sync up or not. Again, that's what the alternative energy committee needs to more fully vet. Tanya lives in this market. I don't. So
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll get to hear from her then before we have to vote.
Okay. All right, so we'll wait on this one.
And your last one is the citizen petition, which you heard last week. So
Yes. Diane?
Just a couple of questions on the citizens petition. Chris, was this reviewed by town council?
they had an opportunity to meet with town council. I know, Mr. Ashton, who's the lead petitioner, I'm fairly certain did speak with council.
I mean, I'm not in favor of it for a whole bunch of reasons. I'll just say that up front, but from a pure legal standpoint, town meeting can't compel the school committee to ensure full day kindergarten. I mean, we've talked about that, and it's right there in the actual petition. Therefore, it would be likely in the motion, which is what people are voting on. And I just think it's almost disqualified.
So as I understand it, I'm not playing town council here, right? Because I don't have a motion from the petitioners yet either. So the town meeting does have the ability to move money in the budget, right? It does have that authority. But you're correct. Only the school committee has exclusive control over how the money in their budget is spent.
Right.
That is true.
So just to be clear, like the idea of taking money from the town side of the budget is something the town meeting can make that determination.
Yeah, town meeting votes budgets, right? So you
Unwise as it is in the middle of a fiscal, right? But
Right.
they can't compel, which is a big piece of this request. Okay.
And the school committee, even if it got, the school committee can do anything it wants with the money, it should proceed.
Right. Courtney?
Thanks, Jean. Hey, Chris, last night there was some discussion between Chair Mayor and Mr. Ashton about some kind of follow-up and sort of working through some numbers. And I'm just wondering how that, any information that that comes to fruition through that process, do you have any sense of timing? Does that inform us at all? I'm just wondering from a sort of timing and procedural standpoint, is there something further for us to take into account on this?
So I believe that the goal of that conversation was more to talk about the budget and budget development questions that were raised in some of the benchmarking numbers, not the kindergarten per se.
Good question.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, so that I hope we'll try to do something in the next couple of weeks as everyone's schedule permits. So.
Thank you.
I personally think that the school committee needs to act on this. I am not in favor of it because I think that the budget process that was followed was inappropriate. Some of the wording in the information summary is not very nice, for lack of a better way of saying it, that it was forgotten to budget for this. I think that there was a wish list. It got put in. and there wasn't any money for it. I really have a problem with this at this point in time. And I just think that overturning the budget that was already approved and voted by town meeting at midpoint in the year is just really not appropriate. Just my personal opinion. I don't know whose hand was up first. I think it was Michael Flaherty.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Tom Callahan.
Yeah, thanks, Gene. I agreed with everything you said, but one thing that keeps me up that I'm having trouble with, and I think I've heard it correctly, but I want to just validate it. Let's assume we gave the money, the 300,000 over. And the reason I'm asking this is I tuned into the select board meeting last night and I heard specific comments coming from the audience about this reimbursement or the whole kindergarten issue. And my understanding is we could appropriate that money over to the school committee, but then they could do what they want with it. They wouldn't necessarily be bound to finish what we authorized. Okay, so it would, and in this environment, I just fear that it doesn't look good for either, the advisory committee or the select board to approve something that we, at the end of the day, are not entirely sure where that's going to end up.
I think, as I said, I think that I would like to hear from the school committee on this. I believe that this group should go to the school committee and see if there's a way that they can, because of what you just said about being able to use the money any way they want, which is kind of a strange thing for people to get a handle on. But there are probably things that they can put in place, or they can make promises for next year. We always had a want list and a need list, and they came to us with both, and we worked through it, and we figured out a way to have a reasonably funded budget for the schools for 9 years that I was there. There are always wants that aren't going to happen, but I think that when you're bargaining in good faith with people, you have to understand that you need. I think it's a subject for next year's school budget, and that school budget is going to happen to take place and start the talks right after this would have been appropriated to them. So your comment's not out in left field at all, Michael. Who knows where the money would go? They do have to spend the money by a certain time, but I think it would be better. I think that they would be better served with this particular thing if they started to participate in the budget planning meetings with the schools. Because it's really not, they come to us with what they need. The town manager gives them. The town manager doesn't give it, but the split is that they get 61% of the budget, and they also own somewhere like 80 to 90% of the personnel and their benefits. So doing this just doesn't make sense to me at this time of year, particularly. I hope that made sense. I felt like I was rambling, and I'm sure somebody's listening in. Tom Callahan?
I'm listening, getting my feet wet being on the committee, but I based on what we discussed last week and tonight, this is legally improper.
Mm-hmm.
It's a policy nightmare doing this in the middle of the year.
And it'll set a precedent.
Yeah, and so my question is, why are we even indulging this? I think we should bring this to a vote right now to not recommend it. I'll make that motion if it will move this along.
Okay, let's have the rest of the conversation first. There are 4 more people with their hands up. Diane?
Basically, I've asked 2 quick questions. One is the school committee even going to opine on this? And secondly, is the select board, I think in the warrant, our goal is to advise the select board first before they make their recommendations, and to have as many recommendations, especially on controversial matters, in the warrant. So to Tom's point, I will let the the others speak, but I'm ready to second his motion.
Okay, Mike Barclay.
Yeah, I mean, back to Diane's original point, I mean, the language of the motion itself is just, we can't vote to guarantee that the school committee will do anything. It's just on all fronts can't be done. So
Right.
I
So that's
you know, I'm ready to vote no on this.
Okay, Courtney.
I guess I'm the outlier here, team. I will just tell you, I agree with much of what's been said. The mechanism is not great. The timing is not great. It is very, very challenging to make these changes in general. The school committee did not do what these citizens supported. And I will say from the perspective that I supported, the vast majority of us, at my age at least, that have children, came to this community for the school system. Very specifically. The beach is fantastic. I literally haven't been to Sandy Beach in 5 years. I've lived here for 11. I came here for the schools and to raise my children in a community with like-minded values. And it is bothersome to me that we don't have what 95% of the Commonwealth is saying is appropriate. Like we're a real outlier there. And I think we have to recognize that. And so I, with all the things said that are challenging, I completely agree with this, but there's a reason that we have this mechanism for citizens to put these things on the warrant. And so I feel very, very compelled and will vote in support of this going to the warrant. So I know we like unanimity in places. I'm sorry, I'm your black sheep or whatever, but I think there's such passion around education in our children, and that's just where I come down. And Jean, I know you're far more expert in the school committee and the budget and the history, and I'm new to the committee, but it's just, it just feels like a value statement for this community, and that's why I have to vote that way.
I do have to say though, Courtney, that it's a value statement, but it didn't pop up until town meeting was coming. And that budget was set to start at the beginning of the school year. So it just doesn't feel right to me. That's all. Mark.
Horrible precedent.
Thanks. You know, and I echo a lot of the comments here, and I support the intent of what they're trying to accomplish, but the manner in which it's being approached, I think is really troublesome.
Right.
And to that, you know, again, not to repeat everything, this is a school committee issue. We do not have the authority here to mandate the school committee to do anything. If this was approached in a different manner in which we could support providing all-day kindergarten, that's one thing. But what we're being asked to do is something different. We're being asked to take away from other services that were previously agreed for this fiscal year without the guarantee that the school will even carry this forward. And so my comment that what I was really going to suggest is, and this is really to Chris, is could we, because the language of the warrant of this article is written in a very specific way where certain monies are being taken out of certain budgets, could we have those department leaders provide a narrative for town meeting as to what that's going to mean? What are the consequences here if this gets approved? Because people may have issue with that, because this isn't, the way it's written is not up to the discretion of the town manager or the advisory committee or the select board to where the money comes from. It is very specific.
Tom.
Yeah,
And
what's the consequence of letting the precedent of this go forward? This is not how you run town government responsible. I indulge citizens petitions, great, it's a great process, but you know what, we're also the leaders of the community who have to instill some guidance of doing things the right way and the sensible way, and you can't do it this way. And again, the article is illegal. It can't do what it wants to accomplish. That by itself should be just disqualifying. And we have to have, not work, I get it's a small town, but we have to have the guts basically to tell people you're wrong here. Sorry. And
I have one more.
it shouldn't go forward.
I have one more comment to make about that. The people who filed this petition were vocal about where the money should come from. And those were positions on the town side.
Yeah. There
I
seems to be an
would-
assumption that it's only the town side that's not transparent and is somehow corrupt and mismanaged.
I believe that the school committee should be handling where the money would come from.
Absolutely.
Mike Barclay, and then Courtney, and then we're
Yeah,
gonna.
no, just my last question, because, you know, I think Tom's making all the germane points, but Chris, town council has blessed this as in the motion that legally this can be done, because I don't think it can.
No, I didn't say that.
No, I was asking,
So the petitioner had a chance to meet with council, as we always allow citizens petitioners to meet, so we try to avoid procedural problems on town meeting floor. Something the moderator has tried to ensure that whatever the relative merits of any position, that at least gets a full and fair hearing on town meeting floor. In this particular case, I've asked town council the same question about, and it was confirmed for me that town meeting can't mandate where money gets spent in the town, in the school budget. So, and again, there is no motion accompanying this yet. That's an informational summary that's there. It does say in the text of the article that would come from the town budget to the school budget.
Right.
The informational summary has the specifics.
Well, no, the motion says.
That's not a motion, that's an
Well,
informational summary, yes, so.
So the language above the part that says information summary, the part that says to see if the town will vote to guarantee tuition-free full-day kindergarten to all residents, that's not the motion?
No, that's the text of the article, and then a motion effectuates the article. That hasn't been drafted yet, so the petitioner have to draft a motion saying, and it could look just like in the informational summary, could say this much money from this budget, this much money from this budget, because you also have to be specific. Town meeting can't just say amend the budget, right? That it has to be that specific. So it could match, but I'm not going to speak for the petitioners. They have the opportunity to create a motion that says where the money might come from.
Yeah, like Mark, I think it has, you know, the intent has some merit, but the way it's being written and what it's being asked to do in terms of, setting precedent is just something that can't be done. So I'm sorry, I've said way too much on this.
Okay, Courtney.
Last questions. I think my question was Mike's, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, I just think of at the state level, the AG approves ballot questions. If they're not legal, they're not allowed to move forward. Is that not, if council is allowing it to move forward, I'm reflecting on Tom's comments. I'm trying to figure out, like, is this legal or not legal? Because we can't put something forward that's illegal. Is this technically speaking illegal?
So the way a warrant works, unlike the AG stuff, is that if a citizen files a petition and it has a required number of signatures, it gets placed on the warrant, whether it works or not. Right. Now, one of the things we've tried to do so that things don't get on the, like, they can get put on the warrant, like, we're going to make everyone have a cow. Well, you can't do that. The law doesn't let, right. So we try to head that off. So council gets to meet with petitioner. We make council available so people can say, well, that's not something town meeting has authority over or whatever. So again, that opportunity was made here as well. And I can't speak to the conversation. I wasn't part of it. But I have talked to council afterwards, and I said, so on town meeting floor, someone could say, is this out of order? Is this germane or is this legal? And council would be asked to rule. That said, it doesn't prevent things from being on the warrant though. So they could be, so the AG can keep things off the ballot, but town council can't keep things off the warrant. If you meet the requirements for getting it on the warrant, it gets on the warrant. It may not be valid. You may not be able to vote it on the night of the meeting.
That seems like a sort of the process is in the wrong place, right?
Yeah, I know. I understand. I don't know.
Okay.
I hear you. You don't want to have to go on town meeting floor and twist it and say, well, what can you do when you can't do? So town meeting can amend the budget, but it can't mandate what the school committee does. So those are two true things.
And
Um,
just the.
how do you square them? Yeah, you have to ask council if that can be squared, and I'm not gonna play that role, Tom.
Just the basic process for Courtney for getting a citizen's petition on the warrant. You only need 10 validated.
For annual, it's 10, for special, it's 100.
Okay, and they did meet that quota.
They did.
So there you go. All right, so Tom made the motion that we would not support this, or we would not recommend this.
Not recommend it.
Yep.
It'll be on the warrant, but.
So
recommend it.
we're gonna end up with I'll second the motion. I just want to make sure that the motion's very clear that we know what an affirmative and a negative vote is. And Courtney, I just want to say it's absolutely the way it should be, is our votes are split. You know, I mean, people vote.
People have different.
Yeah.
Not according to the minutes going back about a year at least, as far as.
Well, I mean, ideally, you know, you get everybody on the same page, but
I've dissented on plenty of stuff.
There's nothing wrong with dissent. It's all good.
Okay, so roll call, please.
So, Jean, can you just clarify as Diane asked? Yes means we're recommending it to go, or we're recommending it not to go?
No, I would say that the motion is
Not recommend it.
to not recommend Article 13, citizens petition, to not recommend.
So a yes means you agree to not recommend.
Correct.
Right.
Which is
Yes.
a nuance that's going to be difficult, folks. But yeah.
Yes, we'll do yes and no then instead of aye. Oh, well, we could do aye and nay. Okay.
Well, Courtney could recommend that it moves, and then we could all disagree with her, but she would need a second to put it on the warrant. So,
She would need a second though.
that's what I said. Yeah.
But you've got a second. Okay, so.
You've done that before, seconded things you don't agree with, just so that you can have a clear vote. But anyway, the motion.
That makes sense. We should do that.
All right, I'll agree with Courtney to see if I'll disagree with us.
No. We're going to stop now because we have minutes to approve too that we didn't do last week, and we're going to do it now because we're behind. Okay, Mike Barclay.
I vote yes to not recommending this.
Mark Cameron.
Mark Cameron, yes, to not recommend.
Tom Callahan.
Tom Callahan, aye.
Michael Flaherty.
Yes, not to recommend.
Diane Kennedy.
Yes, I not recommend.
Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi, yes, no, I do not recommend.
Courtney Murphy.
No.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded, and we've taken our vote, and I am a yes to not recommend. Okay, so it's 7-1. Okay, we have 2 sets of minutes tonight to approve, and then we are still behind one meeting from May that the recording wasn't good, and Lee and Tina had some problems, so I have to go through it and double check it with my notes, and we'll do that at a future time. But for the first ones, July 15th, 2025, I know a couple of you probably weren't here, and you don't have to vote. You can vote if you read them and didn't find any typos or anything like that, but if you're more comfortable, you don't have to vote. So do I have a motion to approve the July 15th, 2025 meeting minutes of the Cohasset Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Do I have a
Diane.
second? Okay, I'll second it.
I'm sorry, Gene, these were the July 15th.
July 15th,
Right,
2025.
okay, yeah, and I was there, okay.
Okay, so roll call, please. Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Gina Stino, aye. Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, aye.
Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay, all right. So the next one is for our last meeting on September 24th, 2025.
I'll
have a
move them, Diane.
Second.
Second, Mark.
Okay, roll call. Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Gina Stino, aye. Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, I.
Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
and Mark Maggi.
Mark Magic guy.
Okay. So that is good. I already brought up the capital budget meeting, and for those of you who have said yes, thank you very much. I think I need one more person for a quorum. So if someone else finds that they can participate, that would be great. I have to figure out how we're going to, how exactly we're going to post the meeting so that it can accommodate a vote. So we may have to have like a little branch off Zoom so that we can do it. That meeting's by Zoom, right, Chris?
Yeah, well, they meet in person. That
Oh,
said, they're hybrid though. So you can most certainly, I think advisories found it easier for all of you to meet this way. So
Yeah. So we can do it this way.
I will talk in the office tomorrow. There is a way to do a breakout room. That's often done during mediations and other kinds of things in classes. So I'll see if we can't find a way to do that. So you could be in their meeting and then I can break you out into a separate room like this so that you can have
End of my life in small claims court. Thank you.
So
We
no,
we
no,
also,
no, no.
we have to post by tomorrow at noon, right?
Right.
Or tomorrow end of day.
No, at
By
4.
end of day.
By the time town hall closes at 4. Okay, so it is,
4:30.
I'm sorry?
We close at 4:30.
Oh, I thought you closed at 4.
No.
Okay. Well, it has to be posted by 4:30.
Yes.
So it's 8:58. We're only 30 minutes beyond my goal. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, so Diane,
I'll second it. Whoever's,
who
No.
made the motion?
I did.
Okay, Mike, and who seconds?
Diane.
Okay, thank you. All right, roll call. Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Gina Stino, aye. Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, I.
Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
and Mark Maggi.
Magic guy.
Thank you, and I'll see some of you on Monday.
Bye, everybody.
Mike Barkley, I won't see you on the 650 for as long as the furlough lasts. So enjoy the rest of
Oh,
your
oh gosh, I'll miss you. And I don't know, but
Enjoy your
if the
vacation.
Yankees
Top of the
win, I don't
ninth.
want to